but you could tell us briefly, please.
Thank you. So, yeah, so the paper is called The Structural Violence of Globalization, it looks at structural violence not as sort of an accident in globalization, but actually as constitutive of globalization and of that process. And in particular, it looks at the confluence. There's a case study that is then used as an opportunity to talk about how this is not just local to this case, but actually sort of, unfortunately, incredibly representative of the confluences of interests that come together, both licit and illicit, ostensibly reputable organizations of governments, the governments themselves, corporations, paramilitaries, militaries, all kinds of, elite families, national, international, within, this is a case within Colombia, and how those interests come together to displace sustainable, autonomous, peaceful communities, indigenous, Afro-Colombian, as well as Campesino, but the particular case is focused on one Afro-Colombian community whose land is coveted by a multinational corporation, and the Colombian government colludes with that at multiple levels. U.S. military funding plays a part, all parties knowing the explicit, well, not almost explicit collusion with paramilitaries in this attempted displacement. And the paper then talks about the possibilities for authentic solidarity work, how we can actually try to work at the request of communities in ways that support them, rather than the kinds of humanitarian projects that I look forward to reading your paper that have been critiqued. So anyway, so I'll do that.
Thank you. My thesis was about, basically I'm interested in academic knowledge production, and I studied the work of European journal editors at 4 high-ranked European journals in our field. And I used the kind of Deston's historical theory of objectivity to distinguish between 2 kinds of objectivities that get constructed but never fulfill what they claim to do at those journals. And to reduce it drastically, the conclusion is that with one form of objectivity, the communitarian form, which is when we try to present something as emanating from a community of scholars rather than from individuals, has been historically very much ingrained in the functioning of scholarly periodicals since their appearance in the 17th century. So, for example, in the mechanics of anonymous peer review. The other type of objectivity, the mechanical one, when we try to eliminate human judgment and intervention altogether, is actually on the rise in the current context of the coming of the new higher education and the practices of accountability. And this has potentially damaging implications for pluralism in our field. It's basically it in a nutshell.
Sketch where they have to summarize à la recherche de temps perdu in 1 minute or less. That's what I feel like whenever I talk about the work. But essentially, it stems from my interest in humanitarianism and my time as a delegate with the International Red Cross. So I was very interested in knowing why it is that humanitarian organizations continue to be presented as a positive social force, why they are largely unexamined in organization studies and in management and in social theory. And to do so, I tried to look at a genealogy, or to begin a genealogy of humanitarianism. So to look at a history of humanitarianism through 2 organizations, the International Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders. So the idea was to look at them because they sort of bookend 2 periods of the post-colonial era. The Red Cross was formed at the height of European colonialism, and Doctors Without Borders was formed at the end of the colonial period and the decolonization of Africa. So I looked at the archives of those 2 organizations and tried to examine or to answer the question, what purpose does humanitarianism serve? And the answer, I guess, or one of the answers, or one of the ways of looking at it is to say that humanitarian organizations serve a disciplinary purpose in society, far from the helping aspect of and the social good that they may or may not do. So that was the finding of the history and the genealogical analysis of humanitarianism. That's it.